Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at some of my favorite things in the entire world to talk about, and we're going to be looking at a couple revolvers. But before we get started, I'm going to pick these revolvers up and show you that they are not loaded and we are clear to make this video. I know a lot of people ask why I do this. It's because YouTube makes me do it. Nobody can get hurt by getting shot through a camera. So what do we have here? We have a Smith and Wesson Model 586 on the top, and we have a Smith and Wesson Model 19 on the bottom. I'm going to show you some of the similarities and some of the differences. These are both older model, what they call pre-lock, and when I say pre-lock, it doesn't have the little locking mechanism. It's got the old school cylinder release on them. And I recently acquired this Model 19, the 6-inch Model 19, and I've had this Model 586 for quite some time. They're both blued models and they're both 6-inch, so I figured it'd be a good two to compare. So we're going to start off with the Model 19 here, and this is a Model 19-3, and some of the stuff about this Model 19 is it has a pin barrel on it, and I'll show you some of the close-ups here. You'll see the barrel is pinned in it. A lot of people really like that in a Smith and Wesson revolver. It keeps the barrel aligned. It keeps it from walking over time by having that pin in it. I've never had a problem with ones that don't have pin barrels, but I knew it's very important to Smith and Wesson people that it has a pin barrel on it. Now this Model 19 was introduced in 1957, and they made these all the way up until 1999. They ceased making this particular gun, and then they started remaking them again in 2018 under what they call the Classic series. They started remaking them, and in my opinion, and if you look at the newer model ones, they aren't made nearly as well. And I'll show you some of the close-ups of this gun before we really start going on. It's in absolutely wonderful condition. The bluing looks awesome on it, and I'll show you the other side of it. You'll see my fingerprints on it, but other than that, this gun's in next to perfect condition. So Model 19 is a K-frame revolver, so that's like a medium-sized revolver as compared to like a J-frame, which is more of a carry type. And this one's chambered in 357 Magnum, and it will also shoot 38 specials. So the reason this gun was introduced is the very first 357 Magnum that was ever produced in the 1920s was by Smith and Wesson, and it was what became the Model 27. It was the registered Magnum when it came out, and it ultimately became the Model 27. They later made another model called the Model 28 Highway Patrolman with a rougher finish on it. And the complaint from the law enforcement agencies that was using it, when it was too big and heavy to carry around, and they wanted something that would still shoot the powerful 357 Magnum and be a lot easier to carry. So Smith and Wesson came up with this K-frame, which is a lot smaller frame than the N frame that the Model 27 was based upon. The N frame is more commonly used in the 44 Magnums, like your Model 29s and your Model 629s. This is the Model 19. This is a K-frame revolver. It's a 6-shot 357 Magnum. And some of the stuff about this, I already pointed out, this one has a pin barrel. It has color case hardened hammer and trigger on it, and I'll show you some close-ups of it. And back then, this one has the firing pin mounted on the hammer, and that never made a difference to me either, but I knew Smith and Wesson people do like the older ones that have the firing pin mounted on the hammer. So when you open the cylinder up, you'll see that it's a 6-count 6-shot 357 Magnum. But if you look really close here, and I don't know if this will show up in the light, this one does have the recessed cylinders in them. So when you load the cartridges in this, cartridges don't protrude past this because the cylinder is recessed in this for holding the cartridges. So this is what they call a pinned and recessed barrel. Pinned and recessed all together, I guess. So it does have a target hammer on it. It's not a super wide spur one. Like I have a Model 66. I have a video comparing that. It's a lot wider and a lot more reach, and this one does have serrations on the trigger here. So if you look at the underlug where it shrouds the ejector rod here. It only goes halfway down the barrel, and you have like a partridge sight on the front of it, and there's no red ramp or anything, but you do have an adjustable rear sight. It does make for a pretty good sight picture. Let me see if I can line this up for you and show you. Really good sight picture. Has target grips on them with a little relief cut out for if you were using a speed loader or something like that are in excellent condition. But there was some problems with these guns when they came out. If you shot a heavy diet all day every day of 357 Magnums, you started having problems in what a forcing cone here. Let me flip this around and see if I can show you. This forcing cone's a little thin on the bottom, and that 357 Magnum cartridge, it's a pretty high pressure cartridge for something with this small a frame on it. And they did have a couple problems with them cracking, and I'm not telling you not to shoot 357 Magnums out of your Model 19 or any of your K-frame revolvers. I'm just telling you it was an issue back in the day, and they would recommend that like law enforcement go train and qualify with 38 specials and carry them with 357 Magnums in them, and that way you do not you do not wear out your firearm by putting hot loads through it every single day. But I've never had a problem personally shooting 357 Magnums out of a K-frame revolver, but I don't sit there and shoot it all day, every day with anything in them. You know, I have so many firearms that I don't have to shoot one of them all day, every day. But very neat revolver. It is pretty lightweight for its size, and it would be a lot easier to carry. I personally prefer the 4-inch model ones, but the 6-inch one is what I have here today, and this is the one I'm going to show you. But this one is in excellent condition, and I really like this thing a lot. It has serrations on the back strap, right behind the grip, so when you grab onto it, you just get a really good grip. It's really good in your hand. This one has since I've showed it first, it has had an action job done on it now, so this double action trigger is on point now. It's very light, very smooth, very crisp when you pull it through, and the single action on it, it's just like all Smith and Wessons, it's non-existent. So very cool gun, very good condition gun. Now what I'm going to compare this to is the Smith and Wesson Model 586, and this is a no dash 586. I've had this one for quite some time. I believe when I got this gun that it had never been fired. I think it's so set in somebody's safe inside the box it originally came in. It had never been fired. I changed that as soon as I got it. I took it to the range and fired it. So let me show you some of the close-ups of this one. It's also got impeccable bluing on it, and it is in excellent condition as the same with the other one. But I do believe this one was a brand new gun when I purchased it several years ago, and I immediately took it out and fired it. Now, some of the differences in this one and the Model 586 is the L frame. So the L frame got a little bit of a bad timing with it. The L frame was introduced in response to the K frame having problems with shooting heavy doses of 357 Magnums in them. So what they did is they built a little bit beefier frame, and as you'll notice, the underlug here goes all the way out into the edge of the barrel as opposed to halfway on the Model 19. And the frame is quite a bit larger, the cylinder is a little bit beefier, and you can take this thing to the range all day, every day, and twice on Sunday and shoot 357 Magnums in it, and you'll never have a problem with it. So I'm going to open this up and show you the forcing cone on this, and it is quite a bit thicker on the bottom than with the K-frame. So some of the features of this gun, it also has the same target hammer on it, with the spurs on top of it. And this one here, they're color case hardened, the hammer and the trigger. This one does not have serrations on it. I do not know the rhyme or reason why Smith and Wesson put serrations on some of them. Some of them they don't. Some of them they put the really wide target trigger on them. Some of them they put a narrow, smooth one on them. I have no idea why. I just know what my two examples here have. This one has a smooth trigger on them. The Model 19 has a serrated trigger on it. So same function though. It's a 357 Magnum, except for it does not have recessed cylinder on it. So when you load the cartridges in them, you can see them when you close the cylinder here, you can see the cartridges in them. It also does not have a pin barrel, and this being one of the very first released ever 586s tells me that it never had recessed cylinders or never had a pin barrel on a model 586. Now the 586 was produced, it came out in 1980, 81-ish, somewhere around there, and they made these all the way up till 1999, the same as the Model 19. They discontinued all those blued guns whatsoever, and then they brought it back around 2012, and they make it today in what they call the classic version. But they do have sleeve barrels, and they have the lock on them and all that kind of stuff, and they're not made nearly as well. This one also has the firing pin mounted on the hammer, it being an older one, and it also has an action job done to it, which I think is probably one of the smoothest ones that I own. It's amazing that you have the same person do the same work to all the different revolvers, and they're all going to feel a little bit different, but this one absolutely feels, it's probably the second best one that I have. I have one other Smith and Wesson that actually feels, the trigger feels a little bit better than even this one to me, but excellent gun. This one came out in the 80s, and the reason it got a bad time to come out was they did this so law enforcement would start carrying them. This is also a medium-sized revolver, but if you look at it next to the K-frame, it's a little bit bigger, a little bit heftier. You know, you can see the difference in the lug and the full lug on this one. The frame size and the cylinder size is a little bit bigger, but it was still a manageable size to carry for law enforcement. But unfortunately, at the time that these were released in the early 80s is when law enforcement started making their transition over to the semi-automatic pistols for the capacity and the ease of loading. So this one came out, like, I call it a day late and a dollar short, and this is probably one of the best revolvers that Smith & Wesson ever made, to be honest with you. It's just the perfect size, it's the perfect strength. 357 Magnum. It looks absolutely fantastic. It was actually an answer also to the famous Colt Python. It favors it a lot with this full underlug on it, and the frame size is almost identical to the Colt Python. So this was Smith & Wesson's answer to it, and they came out a little bit too late to really get a lot of use in law enforcement. However, the civilian market still loves them, and they made a stainless version of both of these. The stainless version of the 586 is called the Model 686, and that probably is one of the best selling 357 Magnums ever made. And the stainless version of the Model 19 is the Model 66, and also an excellent revolver in the K-frame size. Now, the differences in them, obviously, are going to be a couple features I showed you. A little bit different size, a little bit different weight, but they're both 6-shot, 6-inch, 357 Magnums, and to the novice eye, just to look at them, they really look pretty much identical at first glance. You really have to start looking close to see some of the differences in them. Now, the Model 19, which came out first, it was always called the Combat Magnum. I do not know why Smith & Wesson decided to call it the Combat Magnum, because I never know of anybody to ever go into combat and say, here, let me grab my 357 6-shot revolver. But this was called the Combat Magnum, and the 586 on top, when it came out, they called it the Distinguished Combat Magnum. Just, I guess, because of the little bit better looks with the full underlug, and they needed something to, you know, compete with a very beautiful Colt Python that came out, is my best guess. But that is all speculation, folks. But I wanted to show you side by side a K-frame Model 19 versus an L-frame Model 586. I don't seem to get this 586 out enough. I mean, it is in such good shape that I just always forget about it. When I go to the range, I usually grab one of the stainless ones. You know, they're identical guns. They just don't show any kind of wear or anything. But these blued guns, as you know, they can be a little fragile when you start holstering that or putting a lot of hot rounds through them and stuff like that. You can get a little bit of finish wear on them. And when you handle them and bang them around a little bit, they aren't as forgiving as the stainless models. But don't get me wrong, blued guns are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. I own a bunch of them, and I'll never stop owning them. They take a little bit more care than the stainless counterparts that are made in the same manufacturer. This is when Smith and Wesson made very quality stuff. And unfortunately, these newer ones, they just don't seem to be as well made. People just don't take the time and take pride in their work, it seems, when they build stuff. They just want to build quantity and not quality. And back then, I think they were more about quality and their brand. You know, they wanted a really good name and a really good brand recognized with their name. But anyway, folks, if you have any questions about this Smith & Wesson 586 no dash or this Smith & Wesson Model 19-3, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not an expert on Smith & Wesson revolvers, but I sure like them, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.